Hi there, and welcome to our talk on the MobileCaddy tools that are available to be used to build Salesforce mobile applications using the Ionic Framework. I'd like to really talk to you about how they compare to the Ionic I/O and give you a quick demonstration of how these can help you. So first of all, just wondering who's familiar with Salesforce here? I guess a fair number. Like to just say then really that Salesforce is one of the big daddies in the CRM world. They've been rated one of Forbes' most innovative companies for the last 5 years, I think, and they're one of the largest employers of in the tech world within San Francisco at the present. The MobileCaddy SDK then is essentially a nice SDK that helps you build Ionic apps for Salesforce. And what we do is we take care of all the boring and mundane stuff, like offline capabilities, your authentication pieces to the Salesforce.com platform, encryption of your data, so for security and the likes. We take care of synchronization and conflict resolution, as well as the actual device applications for your Android and iOS, so you don't need to go through the rigmarole of submitting to those stores. So we're familiar now with the Ionic I/O, which is useful if you have an architecture like this. What we're seeing here is down the bottom left is you've got your Ionic SDK where you're building and testing your apps, you're developing them. You can then deploy these to the Ionic O platform, which means those apps can be served then to your Android and iOS device apps that you would build yourselves with a Cordova tooling. In this scenario here, we're using, I'm showing Firebase as a back end because it's pretty neat, I suppose, and they take care of some of the synchronization for you. In this instance, what I/O is giving you is over-the-air updates for your application to reduce submissions to the store. They give you the push notifications and analytics and all those sorts of things we've heard about earlier. This is all well and good, but if you're building an application for a customer who's got all of their data in a Salesforce.com backend already, or they have existing Salesforce applications, then it doesn't quite cut it. And this is where MobileCaddy comes in. So you can see here, this is almost a mirror architecture, which is mostly through what's the word? Is an accident really, that they look similar. They've been developed kind of in the same kind of timelines, I suppose. And when the Ionic I/O platform came out, we really saw that the similarities were very clear. So in this instance, what we have is a MobileCaddy SDK where we build and test our applications. This is what's down in the bottom right corner. And then we're using a deploy mechanism as well to deploy the application up to the cloud. In this instance, we're pushing the application up to Salesforce, which is where the application bundle is served from. And you have the iOS and Android application device apps themselves, pulling the assets down to run up the app. And in this instance, the application is using Salesforce.com as the backend for its actual in-app data as well. The reasons you want to do this, like I said, is if you have a Salesforce backend with all your data in already. So take, for example, you've got a British gas engineer who's out in the field. Your Salesforce.com setup will already contain information about all of your engineers, your users, all of the roadside cabinets, etc., and meter readings and all those kinds of things already built. And what you don't want to do is have to reproduce all of those. What's also available then is by storing our application in Salesforce itself, is the existing administrators of those apps are able to control where the applications are deployed to and who they're deployed to. We call this dynamic versioning. So for example, I could, as a developer, I could modify my application. I can push it up into the Salesforce platform, and the administrators could say, okay, this app here is only suitable for customers with an iOS 8 or below device, and so we'll serve it to them. And we have one that's specific for iOS 9, for example. And all this management of which applications get served to who is all done through the MobileCaddy package on Salesforce. With all the interactions going through Salesforce, it means we also get the benefits of analytics inside the platform and inside the organization itself as well. So again, you can see another parallel with Ionic IO, but this time just using the Salesforce cloud rather than Ionic IO or a third-party database like Firebase. So let's move on to a quick demo. What I'm going to try and show you here is how to quickly build a project, get it up and running. We'll see it authenticating into Salesforce. We'll have a quick look around the application, and then we might even deploy a fresh version up as well. Right, so let's start this. I've got my MobileCaddy tooling already installed on my box. It's an npm package, and I can see here by running the templates command that I've got 2 templates available for me in respect to Ionic. I've got an empty skeleton project, and then I've got one which is a demonstration app which for time and expenses. So let's go and use that time and expenses application to create a new app, and I'm going to call our one my Salesforce application. I'll kick this off running now, and it's basically building the application up for me. With my flaky Wi-Fi here, I'm actually going to jump to a project that I already know exists, and by looking in this directory structure you can see it's fairly familiar for anyone who's built a one-page web app. What I can now do is start my application up using this MobileCaddy serve command. And I run that there. We should see that it's going to start my app up in a local web browser, and this will prompt me to authenticate into Salesforce as the first port of call. I'll do that now with one of my many logins. This is a developer box, Salesforce box on the back end that I'm connecting to. And now what's happening is my application has logged into Salesforce. It's pulled down the metadata that my application needs, so the information about which tables are required to be built on the application in the encrypted database are pulled down. It knows about permissions for those fields and those records. It knows about data types and things like that. As it's built that structure up, and then it's actually gone down and started my Ionic logic, which has basically given me a list of projects here. Nothing fancy at all, as you can see, but I can jump into those projects and see that there's a location for them, and then there'll be some time and expense records associated with those. So that's it up and running, and now this is running on my local machine but connecting to the real Salesforce backend and pulling down the real configuration data and real application data. Each of the applications, these template applications we've got, come with a settings area, like you can see here. And if I log in, we've got a few tools pre-built to help developers. The first is this mobile table inspector that I can click into, and here you can see that I've got tables relating to my project, and because it's a time and expenses application, I've got a table that lists the projects, and a table lists the time and expenses, and a few other bits here. And if I jump in, I can see that I've got 2 records, and here is essentially the raw data that's come back from Salesforce. And on a device, this would be stored in an encrypted store. Got a few other tools in here, so I can set how my device will work if it's got no connection, if I'm not running on the device, so if I'm running in an emulator, for example, or if I get exception errors back from the platform. And that's pretty neat. So what else have we got in the tooling? As per some of the Ionic tools and other real, I suppose, workflow tools at the moment, we've got live reload on here. So let's move away from blue and make my UI pink, and make my UI a nice blue color. This should be updating now. Oh, there we go. And what might have happened is I got a request in from my product manager saying, oh yeah, they love the pink, but they'd really like the blue. Can you get me up a version of the app so I can see it running in my environment? I go, yeah, I've made that change, it's all cool. And then I can click this deploy to Salesforce button. And so from within my Ionic application, I'm actually pushing a new bundle up with a new version onto the platform. This means that people who are registered to use this specific version of the application, so field testers or the product managers and things like this can get versions of this right on their handset today. So if they're running the app, they'll get notified there's an update available, and they can see that instantly, which is quite neat. Another tool that we've got, which I'm quite excited about actually, is our CodeFlow Hub. I'll just show you here. So this is a desktop application built with Electron, powered with Ionic's JavaScript and CSS, and so I have this running up against my developer platform. You can see it's the same login here, and what I'm listing here is interactions, refresh interactions against the app. So if I go back and I'll restart my application here, and I'll tell it to basically scrub all of its local data, and so it thinks it's a new installation, and we should see that these new interactions with the platform get recorded here into my desktop app, and you can see them popping up here. The table's being refreshed, so I've got my project table is refreshed, this location table, and then my time and expenses. So you guys, a bit of a whistle-stop tour really of some of the tooling that we've got available, and I hope you found that quite interesting. What does this mean for the developers? So I suppose really it means that you can use your existing JavaScript development skills, your web technologies development skills, to build enterprise grade apps for Salesforce, and you can focus on the things that are the differentiators for your application, rather than any of the boring stuff like authentication, the security, encryption, offline robustness, conflict resolution, those kinds of things you don't need to worry about. And that means there's a whole new job market as well, which is always a positive. So thanks very much for listening. Again, my name's Todd Halfpenny. There's my Twitter handle and the one for MobileCaddy, and I'd like to field any questions now. Thanks very much.